Hallelujah.
All right. Looks like we're live, Ted.
It's a wild campfire! All right, just another rowdy shit kicker campfire. Just real average, real status quo. Matt, did you feel almost like opening morning right then and there, wasn't it?
Oh, man, it was. That was awesome. Thank you very much, man. That was a heck of a way to kick it off, man.
Well, you know, I've not only got my Matthews bow that I just shot many mystical flights of the arrow, because that's how I cleanse my soul and escape the insanity of pandemics and quarantines and power and criminality all around me. I literally live in a bubble of perfection based on a 1-stringed weapon and a 6-string weapon. So I'd like to welcome everybody here. If people are joining us, me and Matt are blood brothers of the great Spirit of the Wild Bushnell campfire, and we welcome everybody here. My name is Uncle Ted, and there ain't a damn thing you can do.
So Ted, how is it in Texas? You and Shemaine are doing okay? Everybody?
We're doing way better than okay. If I was just doing okay, I would complain most heartily. No, we never just do okay. We don't settle for okay. We grab life by the T-Rex scrotum and we swing wildly, hither and fro, to and fro. You know, we live an American dream, and Matt, that's why I use the word blood brothers. People in the asset column, people who improvise, adapt, overcome, really work really hard in order to be an asset to their family, their neighbors, the good earth, our fellow man, the globe. That's what the Nugent family does. Maybe that's why goofy people really dislike me. But anyway, so no matter whether there's a pandemic or whether it's the beginning of the rut in early November, we thank God every day that we're Americans, that our founding fathers wrote down self-evident truths and common sense and logic, and that we have heroes of the military and first responders and law enforcement now more than ever that provide this freedom ain't free quality of life. And so I don't want to sound selfish or dismissing or compromising the hurt and the suffering going on around the country, but we pray every day for our fellow Americans who are experiencing trauma and tragedy and hardships. But with all due respect, since the announcement of the Communist Chinese Party virus, and since the unbelievable wave of restrictions and regulations, we haven't changed our lifestyle here at our Spirit Wild Ranch, Matt, one spit. We get up every day, we work hard, we do media, we spread truth, logic, and common sense. We celebrate the good. We spotlight the cockroaches of bad and ugly, and we try to galvanize fellow Americans of goodwill and decency and consciousness that revere the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Ten Commandments, the Golden Rule. You know, that controversial stuff. Country. I know this is a long answer, but I'm a long-winded guy because the answer during the Communist Party Chinese virus, the answer is verbose. It's elongated because if you live the Boy Scout mantra, the battle cry of rugged individualism and self-sufficiency, hunting, fishing, trapping, ranching, farmer, resource stewardship, hands-on conservation, that you're ready for pandemics. We were ready. We were ready for the Michigan blizzard. I was ready for the second Michigan blizzard in 1957 because the first one taught me to be ready for the next one. We've always been ready. I like to use the battle cry, cocked, locked, and ready to rock the Glock, Doc.
There we go.
My fellow hunters and fishermen and trappers and people that do live the Boy Scout battle cry of being prepared, we are the ones that are helping our neighbors and helping those that were less prepared. And I know that there's a lot of bad and ugly out there, but the good, the sacrifices, the risks that people are taking to help their fellow man right now is shining a spotlight on the best of humanity. So Shemaine and my sons and daughters and grandkids and my brothers and sisters, our family, our neighbors, my band, my crew, all my hunting buddies, we take care of business even when times are really tough like they are right now. So I hope everybody is safe, healthy, happy, secure, cocky, defiant, rocking, and forever hopeful. That's the Nugent truth, logic, and common sense. How was that for an answer?
I love it.
An answer, by the way.
I love it. So I know you've been doing a lot of interviews lately, Ted. You've been on a bunch of shows, and everybody's checking in with you. But I know your musical career is well documented. But I'm not sure what as known is your hunting lifestyle and how that happened. And I was just kind of curious, how did you get into hunting? Did you have a mentor or somebody there in Michigan when you were growing up that introduced you to it? Did you do it on your own? How did that
work? I've written and celebrated that extensively because it's extremely fascinating in my life because as a kid raised along the Detroit River in Detroit, the Rouge River in Detroit, literally I lived in Detroit, but the wild habitat, the wildlife, wild grounds was right across Hazleton Street, just an arrow shot to the west. And so even though I was a city kid and I was already lured and baited into the world of Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry, because that was erupting at the same time that Fred Bear was bringing back the mystical flight of the arrow in Michigan, where I was born. It was 1948. My dad was already a follower of Fred Bear. And I've written extensively about this in my thousands of articles. In fact, we're putting a book together right now called Ted Nugent, The Spirit of the Wild, the book.
That'll be number 6, right?
Thousands of stories. And, I've written New York Times bestsellers. I'm just a guitar player, but I wrote some New York Times bestsellers because truth, logic, common sense, and a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, revering God's gift of life, especially beyond the pavement, especially the hunting conservation lifestyle. My dad turned me on to that when I was born. I got a bow and arrow with probably suction cups. I probably have the Grand Slam of stuffed animals by the time I was 1.5. And I was fascinated by the pheasants and the quail, a lot of quail along the Rouge River. And of course, the squirrels and the river rat, the muskrat, the beaver, the otter, the coons, the possums, the skunks. I knew every songbird by flight, song, and just function by the time I was 6 or 7. In fact, don't tell anybody, Matt, but I built a blind next to the bird feeder. And I had a Daisy BB gun. And I think just like Johnny Appleseed and Mr. Audubon, I collected something like 60 species of songbirds and various bird life with my Red Ryder Daisy BB gun, because I was fascinated by that bird song. I was fascinated by Chuck Berry's licks, and I was fascinated by the stimuli beyond the pavement. So my dad would take us hunting every October up north, and we'd go through grayling, Matt, when Fred Bear was just inventing the glass wood lamination process. And this little boy with his Osage orange longbow and cedar arrows from Miller's Feed Store on Grand River in 1955, we would stop at this little shack. It was kind of an off yellow cinder block shack on the outskirts of Grayling, and it said Bear Archery over the door. I had no idea, because I was just fascinated by the mystical flight of the arrow and trying to get close to that squirrel to kill it with my bow and arrow, which I almost never did. But eventually, as the years went on, I realized we were stopping at the very first bear archery shack that was created by this guy named Fred Bear. I met
that guy.
I was there. And so my fascination with guitars and bows and arrows erupted, obviously. They erupted this morning. In fact, they just erupted a moment ago. They really were the flames of my love affair with guitars and bows and arrows and wildlife and musical creativity. Those flames were fanned wildly from my earliest years of recognizing the world around me, 6, 7, 8 years old. And it hasn't stopped. That was 1948. So I'll be 72 this year. And I have not missed a deer season. I have not missed a hunting season in 72 years, which is,
I love it.
That news is crazy. That's why I'm crazy. I'm crazy alive. So I love this stuff. And I'm just proud to share those stories and the conservation lifestyle with everybody there at Bushnell and Vista and all my friends in the industry and all my friends across America. I have hunting buddies in all 50 states, every Canadian province, all across Europe and Great Britain and Scotland and Ireland and Japan and Australia and New Zealand. You go to my Facebook and I get like electronic campfire wieners over the flames globally every day, because I have so effectively promoted and celebrated conservation and the importance of being clean and sober to optimize that conservation, that people are fascinated by my wildness. He's crazy because I'm so alive, and it's very contagious. It's very alluring, because I think in the heart and soul of all humans is the powerful instinct to defend oneself, to provide for our family, to protect our family, and to manage and monitor the wild ground for optimal wildlife habitat. So all these years and all these books and interviews, and I write for deeranddeerhunting.com, Outdoor Guide, Texas Trophy Hunters Journal, Texas Fish and Game. I now write for Hook and Barrel Magazine at Bass Pro and Cabela's. I write for lots of publications, and you go to my Facebook and people are fascinated that the guy that wrote Wango Tango can celebrate the spirit of the great outdoors lifestyle. So I'm very, very proud of that connection I have with those people.
That's awesome, man. I was taking a look at your Facebook page, just kind of seeing what you've been up to. And I don't think there's a critter on this earth you haven't gone after. So, I mean, you had some pretty nice trophies and pretty nice, over the last couple of years. In fact, I kind of wanted to show these, just kind of some of the diversity we had. We had this one up. That's a heck of a nice little 6x6 you shot there. Where was that one at, Ted?
That's a beautiful Colorado Rocky Mountain elk that my son and Toby and I joined my buddies at Primos, Jimmy and Will and all the guys at Primos out there at the Hill Ranch in Colorado, run by the Hill family that are super conservationists. They dedicate their incredible hard-earned money to managing optimal elk, mule deer, wild turkey, all the biodiversity that is found on good hunting ranches. If you find a good hunting ranch, that is equal to a canary in the global coal mine, because where there's good wildlife for hunting, for renewable, sustained use, wise use, you have the ultimate air, soil, water quality production, because that can only be produced from wildlife habitats. So that's a long answer to a 362-inch bull that I shot with a Savage 300 Win Mag with my Primos buddies, my son Toby. And I'm not a trophy hunter per se, but because I hunt so much, I hunt every day, September, October, November, December, January, and February, and probably March, April, May. I hunt all the time, even during the tour. I'm always hunting and trapping and fishing. And so I have the luxury of passing up immature animals, though I don't always pass them up, but I can pass up that smaller animal to try to get that more mature animal, which ultimately trophy hunting is the ultimate benefit to the herd, because a trophy hunter is so disciplined and patient, which is why I'm not one most of the time. And they wait for that older bull that probably won't make it through the winter, but he has that mystical antler that our original Aboriginal people always painted those hieroglyphics on the cave walls of the antlered beast and throwing a spear or shooting an arrow, because it was that majestic stag that brought food, clothing, shelter, tools, medicine, weapons, and great spirit. It's much like Cochise, Crazy Horse, our African or Aboriginal tribes that I've been hunting with since 1978. And the Nugent lifestyle as a hunter, and I think all hunting families, whether they know it or not, most do, but we're carrying on that Aboriginal Native American lifestyle of being one with the spirit of the beast. And we don't kill the animal as much as we hone our skills to be as effective and deadly as possible for a quick, humane kill, being reasoning predators. But if we really put our heart and soul into being the best hunter, the best marksman, the best archer we can, the Great Spirit actually gifts us that animal and puts him at broadside at proper ranges. So that's the spirit. That's why our show is called Spirit of the Wild. I have a song, Spirit of the Wild. I have an album with killer songs called Spirit of the Wild. And I think that's so attracted so many non-hunters. And you go to my Facebook, people that hated people who cowards that murdered Bambi, which I don't know how cartoons fit into the hunting lifestyle. But when the stupidity and the ignorance, I have literally cleansed to a lot of people who came out because they loved the rock and roll. Who couldn't? And they loved my songs. How could you not? And they came to find out why I wanted to kill so many animals. And then they find out that we donate all this precious, renewable, organic venison to soup kitchens and homeless shelters. And that bull elk that you just saw from Colorado, that fed a lot of families at a lot of soup kitchens.
No doubt.
So that's really what we're celebrating.
So do you have of all the places you've gone, do you have a most memorable hunt or one that just kind of sticks out the most in your mind that you had over your career?
Well, first of all, I've been clean and sober for 71 and a half years, so my memory bank is really spongy. I remember everything. I remember which arrow I use. I remember which broadhead. I remember the wind direction. I remember the day. I remember the barometric pressure. I can point to every animal I have mounted in any picture that my sons and daughters or grandkids bring forth, and they show an old deer, and I go, yeah, that was October 10th, 1975. I had a strange east wind with some drizzle, so I took my old bear recurve and I went across the street from our little farm in Hanover, Michigan. So I remember all this stuff. And when you ask that question, the most memorable, well, the most memorable was this morning with my 3 wonderful dogs where we killed a squirrel with my 22. That's my most memorable hunt of all. But I've been to the Sudan. In fact, I was the last white guy to get out of the Sudan alive in 1978. The rebels were killing everybody, and I barely made it out with the skin of my teeth. So there's a lot of adventure stories there. But, you know, the most powerful imprinted spiritual tattoos on my soul, boy, there's a vision for you, is those hunts that I've been doing since the 1960s, Matt, a little before you ran.
Just a little bit.
Where these children facing imminent death from a terminal disease, they track me down and they tell me their last request in life is to go hunting with me. I remember before there was a Make-A-Wish Foundation or any of these wonderful children's charities for, you know, special needs kids and terminal, that this 18-year-old kid named Jason, 1968, tracked me down through my booking agent, my Amboy Dukes booking agent, and he had leukemia, and he was facing death real soon. And he'd never hunted. He just loved my music. And he heard me on the radio all the time talking about my hunting lifestyle. Plus, I had songs, Tooth, Fang, and Claw, Loaded for Bear, Hibernation, Migration, Living in the Woods, all these hunting type songs. And his last request was to go hunting with me. Well, that's an honor that
definitely.
Description. So I remember all those hunts with those kids and all those heroes of the military, that campfires. I'm really good with describing things, but I'm helpless to adequately describe the emotion and the spirit and the uppityness, the happiness, even when these 6 and 7-year-old boys and girls, Matt, they're not going to make it to their next birthday, and we got them lapping around the campfire, shooting arrows with their Genesis bows and casting the bobber and catching a 2-inch bluegill. Their parents have always said the same thing. This is the first time Chad has laughed in 2 years. This is the first time Susan has giggled. So how can you not moments where you're humbled and honored and privileged to be invited into these families during such difficult times, and that there's something positive that takes place from. So those are magic moments that I think I've described it pretty good, but you can well imagine.
It is a powerful experience anytime to be around a first-time hunter. I can only imagine that that's magnified 1,000 times when you're doing it with those kids that you talked about. So
it's magic stuff. And this is a good time to salute. There's so many hunting families. Like I said, I communicate with hunting families from all 50 states. Do you know that I've had experiences in all 50 states, or in Barack Obama's world, 54 states? But in all 50 states, I know hunters that have sought out charitable activities to take heroes of the military and special needs kids, all 50 states, hunting families all across this country do what I just explained. So it's not a Ted Nugent thing. It's really a we the people of the Constitution, God, family, country, Americans that go beyond and really put in effort to help out their fellow Americans. So a big salute to all of them, and they know who they are.
So, on that ilk, with having that wide variety of hunting background, has there been something that you just fell in love with from cooking and preparing, or something that you had that just you were unexpected that it would be that good?
We've always cherished and dined on the best food in the world, and that's wild game, venison. And the Native American term for venison is all wild meat, whether it's a gopher or a squirrel or an elk or a cougar or a black bear. So the different venison we've eaten, and I could name them all, from pheasants and grouse and doves. Oh, by the way, Michigan doves, they're game birds. Hey, Michigan, the mourning dove, #1 game bird in the world. It's not a songbird, you goofballs. Anyhow, I had to get that in. How stupid can people be? I guess just watch Michigan and the abuse of power there, and you can see that people call the #1 game animal in the world a songbird. Can you imagine how indecent that is? My point is that every imaginable edible critter, including one of my favorite, woodchucks, is always celebrated at the Nugent house. But I got to tell you, when people ask me what my favorite game meat is, I say dead stuff with fire. It's all wonderful. As long as it's dead and you get some fire going. I mean, you can go ahead and get some seasonings and some herbs and spices, but a little garlic and butter on anything dead is delicious.
So when you were kind of transitioning from your musical career, did you ever envision that you'd be the host of an outdoor television show? Was that something that was in the back of your mind, or maybe somebody mentioned that to you that, hey, this could be something you'd be good at?
Well, remember, I never transitioned anything.
That's true. That's true.
I've always hunted. I've always promoted hunting. I've always celebrated hunting on every rock and roll radio, every talk show, every news show, every media, MTV and VH1 and CNN and you name it, ABC, on every media possible, because I'm weird, because I'm clean and sober in the rock and roll world. Well, that Nugent guy, he's weird and he kills animals. Wow. Oh, barbecue. Yeah, I've heard of that barbecue thing. Anyhow, so I didn't transition, but what I found was that as I promoted and celebrated the perfection, the absolute scientifically irrefutable perfection of hunting, fishing, and trapping to utilize renewable wildlife resources with respect and value, that as I articulated conservation, the wise use, and how quality of life can only come from quality air, soil, and water, which can only come from quality wildlife habitat, which will only happen if the wildlife on that habitat is valuable. And duh. Oh, by the way, anybody not paying attention, 1 + 1 does equal 2. You might want to write that down. So as I would do these interviews, the feedback, which I love feedback, the feedback was voluminous. It was universal. Wow, I never really thought about that. Yeah, my Aunt Edna, she had a deer go through her windshield in New Jersey. I guess they didn't kill enough deer there. It was so clearly understandable, the sustained yield use of the surplus wildlife resources to make room for next spring's production. I guess no one ever said that before. No one ever heard that before. What the hell? They never taught that in school. My point is that I found out that people were fascinated by my love of the great outdoors and conservation, and certainly aim small, miss small, mystical flight of the arrow, archery, and the precision of long range or short range shooting, rifles, handguns, shotgun, muzzle loaders. They were so fascinated that this maniac rock and roll guy playing these killer guitar licks was a lifetime hunter. And so over the years, Matt, starting back in the 1960s, I'd always be bombarded. Hey, Uncle Ted, that looks awesome. How do I get started? What kind of gun should I get? What kind of ammo should I get? Where can I kill a pheasant? I mean, they always ask me these things. And so I'd find myself steering people into the conservation hunting lifestyle that is so perfect. It is so healthy and soul cleansing, so good for the environment. And they captured that, unless they were hopelessly comfortably numb, which is actually uncomfortably dumb. If they were just completely brain dead and brainwashed by the Bambi cartoon, they were genuinely fascinated by my excitability. Have you noticed there's a little excitability here?
Just a little bit.
So when Fred Bear, this is a great story. When Fred Bear and I walked down that trail at his Grouse Haven Resort in October of 1987, I hunted with Fred all my life, off and on. He said, boy, I keep hearing from young people that you got to see this Ted Nugent shoot his bow and arrow on stage. And I heard him on the radio talking about venison and the incredible challenge of getting close to game and hitting those mallards at high speed. That Fred Bear was telling me that everywhere he went, all people under 50 wanted to know is if he knew Ted Nugent, because I showed archery demonstrations on stage all my life. And of course, who's not fascinated?
Right.
The mystical flame, especially when it's a flaming arrow blowing up Saddam Hussein. so he would share with me, and he said, Ted, whatever you're doing, these young people are fascinated, and they're buying bows and arrows, they're buying binoculars and camouflage, and they're buying guns and ammo and hunting licenses. They're getting hunted, and you're recruiting them into this phenomenal conservation lifestyle, while academia, the media, Hollywood, and government is pushing people away from it. So the natural instinct was, all right, well, Fred died that next April, and it was shattering. That's where the song came from. So I decided that I would start a children's charity focusing on young people to teach them hunter safety, marksmanship, safe gun handling. It's called the Ted Nugent Camp for Kids. 31 years, over 10,000 kids graduated from 7 to 17. Parents bring boys and girls, there's young boys and girls from all around the country to get the Ted Nugent clean and sober, be the best that you can be, mystical flight of the arrow, outdoor lifestyle, conservation, God, family, country, all that controversial stuff. It's crazy. So besides the Ted Nugent Camp for Kids charity, it's a 501c3 nonprofit, 31 years, Matt. And CNN always talks about it. Never. And so I also realized that people were fascinated at how I delivered this passion, and the nomenclature and the history and the ethics and the spirit of conservation. So my wonderful wife, Shemaine, when we got married in '89, she was a videographer, and she carried this big, giant, Mack truck video camera around. And we did some public television shows called Ted Nugent's Spirit of the Wild that set record ratings and fundraising drives in 26 states. We beat Frank Sinatra and the Grateful Dead. That was easy. And so now this new stuff called Outdoor Channel started, and people went, I saw Nugent's Spirit of the Wild show on PBS. That'd be a natural on a network called the Outdoor Channel back then.
The Outdoor Channel, yep. Yeah, there was.
Yeah. So it really wasn't a transition. It was a continuum. It was just the natural continuation of never defending hunting. I don't defend hunting. Absolutely no need to defend it. I don't defend gun ownership. There's zero need to defend it. I celebrate it and I promote it. And I do it with history, evidence, facts, truth, logic, common sense, and science. And when people get the politically correct turds out of their ears, they hear me and they go, that makes perfect sense. It's a renewable resource. It's the best diet in the world. It cleanses and balances the habitat for next year's inevitable production. I'm going for it. So that between the Ted Nugent Camp for Kids charity and the Spirit of the Wild TV show, guess what, Matt? And you've seen it at the SHOT Show when I sign autographs at the Outdoor Channel booth. Nobody's even close.
Right, yeah.
Nobody's even close. They have to shut my line off. And I'm not, well, I guess I am bragging because Shemaine and I have really touched people.
No doubt.
Uppityness, a spirit, a vitality, a passion, and everything I say is irrefutably scientific and historically evidence drenched. So when people try to argue with me, I chew on their family tree and spit sawdust in their face, because everything I stand for isn't a Ted Nugent opinion. It's not a hunch. I presume nothing. It's nature. It's tooth, fang, and claw, renewable, sustained yield, habitat finite, productivity, hunt, fish, trap, perfection. Hallelujah. And if anybody doesn't understand that, you can call 1-800-NUMBNUT, and Michael Moore will explain why personal hygiene is totally unnecessary.
No, it is amazing. The last 2 years, you've been able to stop by the Bushnell booth, and you're right. We had to cut the line off. I mean, there are people there waiting 4 hours before we've even announced that you're coming on. It is an amazing outpouring of support. And
well, there's a connection. I'm a smart ass, cocky rock and roll guy, but I'm just a husband, a father, a grandfather, a neighbor, a citizen, and a dangerous guitar player and a sharp stick maniac. That being said, what you're witnessing there, that's not star power. That's not a rock star. That's not a celebrity. That's a connector.
Sure.
Those people, and we talk hunting, fishing. We talk about guns and bows and ammo. We talk about, strategies and this deer and my first doe and my first quail. And I have a connection with the best people on the planet, which are always found in hunting, fishing, trapping.
Yep. 100%.
Case closed. So I'm humbled by that. I may not look or sound humbled, but if those people connect with me like they do. In fact, if you wonder where my energy comes from, I'm drinking a charity water that actually came from Chuck Norris's ranch. Chuck Norris produces water for a military charity called Live to Give. I don't know if there's a website, but Live to Give, and 50% of all the money raised by this water sales from Chuck Norris's, it must have
who knows what it's got in there?
Adrenaline from a pissed off buffalo or something. But anyhow, this water called Live to Give is a military charity, and 50% of the income goes to those military charities that help so many people out.
Awesome. But I was reading an interview that you did, and it had been a while, and you had talked about after you graduated high school that college wasn't really a focal point. So I just got to kind of ask, where did you really see yourself kind of in that 10 years from there? Did you have a goal? I know obviously music was in your blood and the outdoors, but where did you see yourself at that time?
Number one, I didn't see myself. I was on a vapor trail. If you could have stopped me for 2 minutes, which you couldn't have done, and asked me, well, what are you doing? What's your goal? Because I'd never stopped to go, geez, should I have a goal? I wonder what my goal is. I got a forest in front of me. I got an axe and a steel. I got to keep that axe sharp, and I got to cut wood. My goal is to denude the forest. I guess if I shut up.
It kind of surprises me a little bit, because when I was looking at some photos, and I think I found an older one of you, this gentleman looks like he knows what he's going to do. This guy's.
Oh, I did. Remember, Matt. Remember the vortex within which I was born. Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, and Little Richard invented rock and roll just a couple years before I was born. Les Paul electrified the guitar just a couple years before I was born. And Fred Bear and Howard Hill and Roy Case were re-establishing the incredible highs, the stimuli, the samurai spirit of getting close enough to game with a sharp stick versus Roy Weatherby, which everybody reveres Roy Weatherby, but he was creating ballistic capabilities for killing game way out there, which is also wonderful. I just got done sighting in my old Browning 223. I have a Bushnell scope on it I just put on, and I got a suppressor on it. So I sighted it in to see if it was different with the suppressor or without, and it's not. It's exactly the same hole. My point is that I love getting close with the bow and arrow, but I'm also fascinated by breathing, trigger control, acquisition, the cadence of your heartbeat to get. I train with the Secret Service. I train with Delta Force, Matt. I train with the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers and the Green Berets. Are you kidding me? You wonder why I'm like this? I bow hunted with Fred Bear. I played bass for Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley. Are you kidding me? How can I not be absolutely on fire? So my point is that I absolutely knew what I was doing. I wanted to capture those Chuck Berry things. Playing Chuck Berry stuff when I was a kid was almost impossible. But eventually
Outstanding.
I was fascinated by learning the founding fathers' excitable, electrified, sexy, energized, defiant musical adventure on the guitar. And all those adjectives and attributes also apply to what Fred Bear had done, bringing back the bone arrow. Thanks to Ishii and Saxton Pope and Art Young and Roy Case in Wisconsin. A lot of people don't know Roy Case's name. Roy Case got a bow hunting season in Wisconsin even before Fred Bear did in Michigan. So I just wrote an article about that. In fact, people can go to deeranddeerhunting.com. Deeranddeerhunting.
Yep. Great magazine.
I don't know if I sent it to you, but it's all about that I'm a purist. I may not look like a purist. I'm a purist.
I would never say that.
what I did with that old U longbow in 1953, stalking muskrats on the Rouge River, what I did then was exactly what Ishii did in 1900. It was exactly what Cochise did. And now today, even with my state-of-the-art, the bows, everybody makes bows nowadays that are phenomenal. But when I grab my state-of-the-art Matthews, which is amazing, I have a McPherson guitar. Matt McPherson actually makes one of the best acoustic guitars in the world. So what a confluence he and I share, bows and arrows and guitars. But my point is that as a purist, I wanted to express my inner spirit musically, which I've done and continue to do. I had the greatest tour of my life last year. Unbelievable. I'm so heartbroken. This year's tour is canceled. Oh, I'm going to cry. Anyhow, what I celebrate is those sucker punches of excitement from Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard, God bless their souls, and the great Fred Bear and Roy Case and Ishii and Howard Hill and the great Doug Walker, so many heroes of hunting reinvention. So certainly Bob Swinehart, so many. Pete Shepley's still with us. So many great heroes of archery that those really clearly, they struck a chord with me, literally and figuratively. And I raced professionally off-road. I'm a writer. I've written, like I said, New York Times bestsellers. I've written 5 books.
Yeah, 5 books. Yeah.
I do a lot of stuff, but the core of my life is obviously God, family, country, freedom, the Constitution, and my music and my hunting is part of God's creation, providing for my family, keeping my country strong, being in the asset column. I'm an entrepreneur. I hire many, many people. In fact, every year since 1965, I'm responsible for thousands of jobs because everywhere I tour, there's building managers, there's security, there's union workers in every building, every city, every night, every summer, every year for 50 plus. Shouldn't I be tired? Maybe those are bags under my eyes, but they're ammo bags. So yeah, those firestorms struck me strong then, and here I am going to be 72, Matt, and I'm telling you, I love the music more now than ever. With Jason Hartless on drums and Greg Smith on bass guitar, I got the best rhythm section a guitar player could dream of. My crew is the best crew in the world. Linda and Doug and Toby and Shemaine, everybody in my life is the best of the best. So it really is hunting, primarily bow hunting. 90% of my hunting is with the bow and arrow because I get to hunt for hundreds of days every year. And the unlimited thrill of seeking new musical noises and grooves and adventures. I got new songs that are just monsters, and I can't wait to record them with the guys.
So I got to ask you a couple of questions, and we might open up for a little bit of a Q&A. I know we've had several in the comment section. People are eager to ask you some questions. But
so we got a bunch of people. I want to say hello to everybody. Can people see me? Because I can't.
Yeah, they can see you, man. It looks like there's probably 300 or 400 watching live now. So yeah,
if I would have known you could have seen me, I would have actually taken a shower and got some sleep last night. Because if I'm showered and slept, I am actually quite good looking. This is all that's left.
So is there a story behind the Uncle Ted nickname? I mean, we talked to T-Bone, we talked to Waddell. They all had a story about their nickname, and I was just curious if there was anything behind the Uncle Ted, or if that's just how fans related to you, friends related to you. good old Uncle Ted, or maybe there was something else there.
Well, no, there really isn't. There's that connection again. I mean, I hang out with people. My tours have never been concert, room service, hotel. I meet new hunting buddies. I'm on the board of directors for 28 years of the National Rifle Association, the most important civil rights organization in the world. And I thank everybody who trusts me to be an absolutist about my God-given individual right to keep and bear arms. And so those people vote for me, the same reason they call me Uncle Ted, or I could give you some other names, but I've been known as Reverend Theodosius Atrocious and the Whackmaster and the Strap Assassin and a few other juicy ones. But there's that comfortable relationship. People are comfortable around me. I've been hosting hunting trips since the 1970s with our Sunrise Safaris, and people know that I'm one of them. I might play the best guitar licks in the world. I might. And I certainly raise more hell in the media than any other 1,000 people for gun rights and for hunting rights. And so the people go, I heard Ted on the radio. He represents what I believe in. And I'm not just talking rock and roll fans. I'm talking a 94-year-old survivor of the Bataan Death March, Matt. He sought me out and wanted to meet me. Lieutenant Denny Thompson, 96 years old, was at Normandy Beach. He sought me out. He wanted to thank me for fighting for the freedoms his buddies died for.
Amazing.
Call me Uncle Ted because they know I'm one of them. There's a term I lovingly refer to that identifies the most able-bodied, risk-taking men and women in the arena of the American dream, putting their heart and soul into being the best that they can be, disciplining themselves and sacrificing so that they're an asset to their family and neighborhood and country. These are shit kickers. These are the guys you call when you need plumbing work, when you need welding done, when you need security, when you need an electronic device fixed. These are the heart and soul people that vote me on the board of directors of the NRA in more numbers than anybody since Charlton Heston, by the way. I think Colonel Ollie North got a few more votes than I did, but I'm proud of that because they call me Uncle Ted because they consider me family, and that's quite an honor.
No, definitely. So I would be remiss not to ask you a few musical questions while I got you here because it's just,
I love the musical questions.
Too easy to do this. So, you've recorded what 40 million albums? I mean,
I've sold 40 million. Yeah,
40 million. How many? What is your favorite song, or is there one that you just enjoy playing the most that just gets you charged up, man?
I got to tell you, that's impossible. I mean, I don't know what the sound. Can you hear the guitar?
Yeah, man.
I mean, when you stop and think of the songs ever, and just think, we're all raised on honky tonk. Well, I took that and I Nugentified it from Detroit. I mean, what a greasy barbecue lick that is. And I got so many killer licks like Great White Buffalo. Get out of here. Everybody, to what I got to say. There's hope for tomorrow. If we can wake up today. What about this one? Get out of here! What about this one? I mean, what the hell kind of music is that? On my new
Love
record,
it.
song called "The Music Made Me Do It." Listen to this lick. Get out of here! That's the best damn guitar lick in the world. But I have so many. Free fall and I mean, I have so killer songs.
Just a few.
That's impossible.
So a theoretical question: if rock and roll didn't exist, what genre of music would you have gotten into? I mean, what
Oh, I would have probably come up with some sort of battle hymn to get warriors into the war, into the battle to kill evil people. But I think that's what my music is anyway. You know, I've always said, if you weren't a guitar player, what would you be? I mean, I don't know. I just don't know what to do with that kind of question because there is no plan B. Now, I've also been a sworn sheriff deputy since 1983. And I've conducted federal raids with the FBI and the ATF and the Texas Rangers and the United States Marshal Service. So I've been an active cop for what's that? That's 40 years now, huh? Anyhow, I take that law and order very seriously. Boy, that's a rarity nowadays. Let's just let evil people out of jail and then not let the people who they're attacking in the neighborhoods purchase a gun. At any rate, I digress. So all this stuff is very important, but if it wasn't rock and roll, you know, I've written some beautiful symphonic pieces like Hibernation, and even my Amboy Duke song "Journey to the Center of the Mind." When I wrote it, I wrote the rhythm guitar part, and I kind of orchestrated it. You see how it builds like that?
yeah.
Rhythm part. Then I wrote the bass part. And then I wrote this unbelievable melody. Get out of here! I put all those together with my amazing bandmates. And what Gregor Rama did, God rest his soul, on the bass guitar was superhuman. Dave Palmer on drums, superhuman. Andy Solomon and Rick Lober on keyboards, superhuman. The lyricist, Steve Farmer, he just passed away recently, a brilliant musical visionary, and John Brake on lead vocals. But, you know, it's rock and roll, but it's orchestrated. If you listen to what I did in, well, I could play so many, a song called Migration. There's that hunting element. The Migration song, I suppose people are interested in this. This is interesting to me.
Interesting to me.
But I started it out with the bass part that I wrote, and Bill White played it perfect, and the bass went. Then the guitar went. beautiful stuff. I mean, that even though it's rock and roll, because of the electricity and the pummeling of the beat and the groove, it's really almost like Mozart, if I may. A lot of people go, it's not Mozart. Well, Mozart wishes he could get sounds like that. Beethoven, Bach, some of these brilliant composers. And I don't want to claim to be a brilliant composer, but I am. So you really listen. I have so many beautiful melodic songs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's not all just Wango Tango, even though that's a masterpiece. And again, you go to my Facebook. Thank you, everybody. The real music lovers that really listen and really appreciate the world-class virtuosos that I've always been surrounded with. My bands, my bandmates, the greatest musicians that ever lived. You look at my records going back to Amboy Dukes in 1967. I could name every musician all those years. Phenomenal. And so the spirit and the authority of my music, because of those musical geniuses at my side, it has a life of its own, and people know that, and people appreciate that, and they're constantly telling me what this song means to them and how they played this song at the birth of their child and the graduation. And when they said goodbye to their mother at the graveside, they play the Fred Bear song. So there's that connection thing again. Now, it's not celebrity. It's not rock star. That's all just nonsense. It's about, what do you mean? What do you represent? Did you stand up for controversial stuff because you knew you were right? I've always done that. And people of honor and integrity and goodwill and decency, they love that, and I love them.
So there is one question I do have to ask you. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm a guy that's always enjoyed the long hair. And so
I have the greatest hair in the world, or what?
I mean, look at this guy. I mean, so do you miss the hair, Ted?
That's the same guitar too, Matt. That's number 9 Birdland right there. The other pictures, no, I don't miss it. In fact, I had it up until I think it was about 7, 8 years ago. And because I rocked my balls off, that's some cool ass hair right there. But it literally was a night here at Spirit Wild Ranch about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe a little longer. And I was doing what I do hundreds of times a year. I was dragging a buck out of a tangles. And here in Texas, we have these mesquite and cedar thickets that a dart mouse couldn't get through these thickets. But I'm dragging this deer out. My ponytail's getting caught and pulling down branches, and it's getting snagged. And I literally dragged the deer out in the clearing. I'm getting all the limbs and all the debris out of my ponytail. And I called Shemaine. I went, that good-looking lady that cuts your hair, bring her over. We're chopping this stuff off tonight. And so it was just a pragmatic decision.
Makes sense.
I would streamline myself. And as much as I loved my hair, you know what I loved more than my hair, Matt?
What was that?
The first shower without it.
I can see.
No, and by the way, let me put it in perspective. It's just hair. It's cute. It's fun. But I got so much cute, fun stuff in my life, I don't miss the hair at all. Because I lived, if I may say so, I lived the hair life. I don't, I've seen a lot of cool hair in my days, but I think I had the coolest hair in the world.
No, I would agree. Man. There is a, there was no shortage of excellent pictures this show, but I've got to ask you, musicians are always, there's always kind of an attachment to covers and, the imagery that goes on the cover. And I wanted to show a couple, but I didn't know if there was one you were just most particularly proud of. I mean, we've got obviously, Cat Scratch Fever.
Adorable.
We've got Out of Control. I mean, and then who could forget the White Buffalo? I mean, so is there one that you just love that just was like, man, we did it, we nailed it, exactly what I envisioned?
Musical expression is there a word? Omniscient, omnivorous, omnipotent, just omni. It's not just the sounds, though those are critical. The tone, the drum sound, the bass thrust, the the texture of the vocal delivery, and how you mic that so you get the delivery that the musician puts his heart and soul into tweaking the sound of the instrument. Like, I don't know how this guitar sounds over this technology, but believe me, here in the living room, it's a monster. It's rich and crisp and deep and throttling. So you go for the sound of your music. But killer musical moments have a visual. There's an imagery that goes with that, to my liking. And my music is so graphic in tonality and sonics that you're going to have an album or a CD or whatever the technology used to be. And so the music says something, it pronounces, it delivers something. And so I know that when I'm making it and I'm grimacing, I never knew I grimaced until people started showing me photos of myself grimacing on stage. And I go, well, you can't play that lick without looking like that. That lick is just brutal. So you're probably gonna grimace. And so there's visuals that coincide and enhance the audio. And so I've always had a team around me of really music loving, caring, professional, artistic visionaries. And I don't know if those adjectives really apply. Cat scratch fever was a medical term that I just stumbled on. And that lick, I mean, what else are you going to sing to that lick? But yeah, scratch fever. So I metaphorically projected that it might have something to do with really sexy girls. And so we put the two silly things together, and that gal was scratching me on the chest. But again, life is a bombardment, or it should be a bombardment of stimuli. And especially, I got to tell you, I hope everybody listening closely. I've been clean and sober my whole life. I don't poison my sacred temple. Comfortably numb does not make your family happy. Comfortably numb is not beneficial to your quality of life. If you're comfortably numb, you're in the liability column, and it makes your family sad. Case closed. So I'm a spirited, uppity, very easily stimulated individual because I'm so alive and I'm clean and sober. So all my stuff works really good. I'm alive and tuned in. Situational awareness brings you quality of life.
Sure.
And bow hunting is the definitive situational awareness that served me quite well during, felony arrests and raids with the federal agents that I've conducted. You can't go in comfortably numb or you're going to get killed. If you go hunting when you're comfortably numb, you'll buy chicken. So the visuals, I think, Matt, and I know you know this, but my visuals on my product, it coincides and enhances the sonics. So if you got sight, sound, sensations, taste, all these different capabilities in life, serve them and serve them well. So I thought, and not only that, but I guess to summarize it, could anybody have as much fun as I've had with my music and with the covers? I mean, it's fun stuff, man.
Hard to guess. So I know we're already running a little long, Ted, but you got an opportunity to take a couple questions from the audience.
I insist on
the schedule. So let me. So if you've got a question, we'll try to get to them. I'm sorry if I missed one, but throw it up in the comments below, and we'll try to get it. Dan asks, is Ted a musician that is also a hunter, or is Ted a hunter that's also a musician? I mean, I think you kind of talked about that a little bit, but
100% musician, 100% hunter, 100% husband, 100% father, 100% brother, 100% grandpa, 100% hell-raising American. That's everything's 100%.
Gotcha. Hey, here's kind of a fun question I've been asking the other people that have gone on, but have you had a luxury item during quarantine or something that you've had before or recently bought? I mean, Michael Waddell was talking about he was so happy he upgraded his Wi-Fi. And
Well,
Travis was enjoying coffee on his back porch with his wife, and he turned into a coffee drinker. So I was curious if there's something that's been keeping you going other than what we've already heard about.
well, I got so much stuff going on. And you tell Michael, in fact, I'm going to call Michael Waddell as soon as we get off here, and I'm going to send him the ultimate coffee. It's called Nugent Java. I've got some mad science. Go to my website. I have mad scientists grow, cultivate, harvest, rest, brew, whatever they grill or whatever they do to it. But these guys are like coffee maniacs. It's like the guys who build my coffee are as crazy as the guys who build my Bushnell binoculars and scopes. They're mad scientists. They perform miracles in their given careers and endeavors. So I'm going to send Michael Waddell some nude.
Yeah, you send them all. Travis will definitely enjoy it. So,
but as far as luxuries go, I got a Dodge Hellcat with 800 horse. It gets exactly 700 yards to the gallon. And I've got a 1974 Bronco that'll climb up your face. And I've got a complete rebuilt 1968 Ford Bronco. And I work on my trucks. I run a trap line year round here in Texas. You have the freedom to manage the varmints. So we kill coons, possums, skunks, coyotes, bobcats, fox, and crows. And we manage our land. I just put in some food plots with some buck forage oats. I'm constantly shooting my bow and arrow. I'm constantly doing media interviews celebrating truth, logic, and common sense. But I've also, I'm an adherent to the most important philosopher of all times, Dirty Harry, when he said a good man knows his limitations. So I am the master at high energy and equally the master at shutting down. I will grab Mrs. Nugent on the hour and I will say, honey, you do great videos. She has her own TV show coming up. She does inspirational speeches. She's written a new book. In fact, this is her new book, 4 Minutes a Day to Happy. It has changed people's lives. This is Shemaine's book. I think you can get it at Old West Antiques at yahoo.com. Old West Antiques at yahoo.com. She's selling signed copies of it. But we are so busy that our luxury is fighting to get God, family, and country back online in America, to make sure that everybody we know goes to huntthevote.org. Matt, we're talking life and death for America. If you believe in God, family, country, hunting rights, the hunting lifestyle, and freedom, if you believe in the Constitution, and you demand that our elected employees are held to constitutional accountability, I beg my fellow Americans, go to huntthevote.org. Huntthevote.org. We just won in Wisconsin, Matt. We just won in California because hunters who are the soul of God, family, and country, we got them to discard the self-imposed shackles of apathy, register to vote, and vote God, family, country. Huntthevote.org. So this is a do or die moment in America. I believe that liberals and the left are intentionally destroying our economy. They're fighting against this great president to bring America to her knees. And I believe that if we got all the families who believe in God, family, and country, and hunting rights, and conservation, and conservative values, if they go to huntthevote.org and get everybody they know to register and vote, Matt, the thieves and the power-abusing criminal corruption that infests our government right now would begin to get chopped away. Huntthevote.org. There's nothing more important. I love my music. I love my family. I love my country. I owe everything to the heroes of the military. But huntthevote.org will spell a positive future for America versus the horrors of anti-constitution, anti-family, anti-God, anti-freedom left is ruining everything. God, family, country, huntthevote.org.
So this has been a popular question. Anthony wants to know if you've got a head count on how many Birdland guitars. Do you have an idea how many are there at the house?
I have 19 Birdlands. They're breeding right now. I pulled this one away from the breeding rituals. I have a whole bunch of amazing guitars. I love the Gibson Birdland. It is a hand-carved arch-top hollow body instrument made in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And even though you can, it's got an acoustic ability to it, but when I play it, telling me about a now, baby. Telling me now it's going for so long. You know people stay. So strange, you're out of the way. Get out of here! This Birdland has such tone, you can get the nastiest stuff in the world. And you can get these beautiful little tones like I mean, there's no guitar like it in the world.
I had to let it get free, Ted. You inspired me, man. No more. Gotta let the hair breathe. I promise.
Let your freak flag fly, brother.
So we'll get a couple more before we can let you out of here, my man.
Sure.
Certainly appreciate you coming on with us and letting everybody kind of break away from all this craziness everybody's dealing with. But one of these questions,
I'm good for anything. I'm good for cleansing the soul because
there you go.
Uncle Ted,
I'm trying to
no this.
But asked about greatest guitar player in your opinion outside of you. Can't say you.
Well, there's so many. You know, this is great. These people are asking these questions because I know that people that hang out with me, they really are aware of the musicality of our expressiveness, our expressionism, the musical delivery of our human experience, the emotions, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs, the unlimitedness, the defiance, the spirit of a musician's statement. And the people know that. That's why they asked about the mighty Birdland, because they know where the music comes from. I've been doing this for over 60 years now. Good grief. And people who love spirited, authoritative, honest to God music, I love them because we all love the same music. But as far as the greatest guitar player, there are so many miracle workers on the guitar. and I've jammed with the best. I got to jam with B.B. King. I played bass for Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley. I got to jam with Stevie Winwood. I played with Stevie Ray Vaughan. I've jammed with Eddie Van Halen and Billy Gibbons. I've been on stage with Aerosmith, with Brad and Joe. I've been on stage with Hart and played with those guys. I mean, I jammed for an hour with John Entwistle at the NAMM show, the North American Music Merchant Show in California years ago. I played with Brian May. There's so many gifted virtuosos. My own Derek St. Holmes, who was with me for years, is one of the greatest guitar players that ever lived. Ricky Medlock, who was with Blackfoot, creating that incredible music with Blackfoot, and then with Leonard Skinner. Tommy Shaw, my fellow damn Yankee, is just an unbelievable guitar virtuoso. So I've really been to the mountaintop. I know that the founding fathers, Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, Duane Eddy, Lonnie Mack, these guys invented this stuff, so we owe them everything. And just so many unbelievably impacting, musically stimulating, adventurous guitar masters out there. I've already named, I don't know, what have I named? 40 of them already.
Yeah, a minimum.
There's so many that I revere them all. I mean, Dave Amato with REO Speedwagon. Dave Amato played with me on the Little Miss Dangerous tour and the Penetrator tour. And people might not know the name Dave Amato, but what he plays with REO Speedwagon is as good as any guitar playing on the planet. And I revere and admire these guys because I don't think a lot of people know what I'm going to share with you now. All those guys that I mentioned and everybody I've ever known, everybody from Cheap Trick and Journey and Foreigner and every band under the sun, the work ethic that these musicians put into their instruments. For 20 years, I had a welt on my chest from leaning over the birdland, discovering new movements and new tones and patterns and licks. I don't know if there's a work ethic equal to that of these gifted virtuosos who practice and explore and test themselves. We never stop. The work ethic of every musician I've ever been with is stupefying. So all the people that love this music, thank you for that, because it's sharing this music that drives us. And when you love the music like you do, and you ask intimate questions about this lick and this song and this attitude and this spirit and this arrangement, we cherish that you care enough and are paying attention to what we put our heart and soul into throughout our musical life. So thank you, everybody, for that.
So we did have a couple product questions. I know you're bringing some arrows from one of our other Vista brands. So let me see if I can find that real quick. What do you know about the weight of the arrows you're using? You have to know.
Well, you know, I started out making my own arrows out of reeds along the Rouge River in 1955. so I know I was there. You know Natty Bumppo and the first Aboriginal that discovered how you can fling an arrow out of a length of sinew over a stretched limb. So I've been there in the most basic fundamental arrow development all the way to 2020 using these gold tips that are the straightest, they're balanced, they're matched to the spine of your gear. So I've been all through the Port Orford cedar eras of the 50s and 60s when Fred Bear first started coming out with microflight glass arrows in late 50s, and then the aluminum arrows, and then the carbon explosion. So right now I'm shooting 30. Shemaine and I both shoot. Wait, Shemaine, Sasha, my daughter Sasha, my son Toby, and I all shoot the same arrow. Even though Shemaine's draw length is shorter than ours, we all shoot a 30-inch gold tip, 75, 55, I guess that's the 400 series now. And we tip it with various broadheads. I'm actually using some 175 grain broadheads, but mostly 100 grain broadheads. When I use the standard setup with either 3 5-inch vanes or 4 4-inch vanes, I use a slight helical, sometimes a hard helical, and the whole projectile is 400 grains, right around 400 grains. And even though Shemaine shoots a longer arrow than she needs to, it's that increased weight that assists penetration. And out of her 35-pound Matthews bow, she gets complete pass-throughs on almost every deer, shoots big oryx. She got a pass-through on a 600-pound oryx a couple months ago, shooting a 35-pound bow. So I've got to take this moment. If you struggle to draw your bow back, it's not a good bow for you. Archery is grace and stealth. I shoot 50 pounds. Shemaine shoots 35 pounds. She kills everything she shoots at. It's not about velocity. It's not about kinetic energy. It's about a penetrating two-blade broadhead in the instance of 35 pounds. I could shoot 2s and 3s and 4s with 50 pounds with a 400-grain arrow. But I would implore everybody who wants to be as excited as I am, find a bow that is graceful, that comes back like mush. I let Sammy Hagar, it's his top-rated Sammy Hagar's road trips on Axis TV. My episode 2 weeks ago, I've heard that it's the highest-rated Sammy Hagar road trip ever, and he shot a 35-pound recurve that the great Bill Wiesner built for me, and he drew it back gracefully, no struggling. The great Sarah Palin, I turned her on to archery. Dana Lash, the great conservative talk queen, Dana Lash. We've turned all these people onto archery, and you either use a Genesis children's bow, so it's graceful. This is archery. This is weightlifting. If you have trouble drawing your bow back, don't necessarily go to a crossbow. Don't necessarily go to a crossbow because you can't pull it back. Get a lightweight, graceful, easy to draw bow. Archery is in the flight of the arrow, not the power. If you want power, get a rifle. So many in our industry, I'm telling you, Matt, I hope our industry is listening. The industry is killing the industry. People are buying 60 and 70-pound bows, and they're quitting because they're alarming the animal as they struggle to draw it. They're making a bad shot and having heartbreak because they wound an animal. If you can't pull your bow back effortlessly, it's not archery.
Right. Makes sense.
If we could sell 10 times the bows and arrows and all the assorted gear if we would just have every archery shop invite people in to try a lightweight. My buddy George Britton in Tarpon Springs, Florida, and Brian Shootback in Jackson, Michigan, Bruce Cull, the president of the National Field Archery Association in Yankton. Get a lightweight bow. Get a graceful bow. Those guys will turn you on, and you will become addicted to the mystical flight of the arrow instead of going, no, I'm not going to shoot today. I hurt my shoulder. Your bow's too heavy. The average bow on the shelf in a shop, 70 pounds. That is twice the weight of average newcomers. And they're not going to shoot. They're not going to buy equipment.
Yeah.
The industry is killing itself. We need to produce more 30, 40, and 50-pound bows and get people to start shooting within 10 feet of the target so they discover that hand-eye coordination. Where's my spirit? Samurai. I am the arrow. Where's my left hand pointing? When is my right hand going to let go? Am I one with the flight of my life? Or am I grunting and groaning trying to win a weightlifting contest? God, I hate that.
Well, Ted, man, this has been a lot of fun. You know, we started this about 4 weeks ago just for this very thing, to kind of provide a little distraction, a little levity, and I think you did it more so. So we certainly appreciate you coming on. I do have a little lightning round I got to play with you. You're going to strike up that.
Sure.
I'm not going to talk anymore. What is it? If you got one more in you, I'm sure people would love to hear you. I know you had to cancel the 2020 tour, or at least this summer. There's been a lot of people asking where they could find you. So You want to
Well,
give
I'll tell you, Matt, thank you for doing this. Give my best to everybody there at Bushnell and Vista and all my buddies there in the industry. I love this sport. It really is a lifestyle. It really is a quality of life that I don't think is matched. My incredible grandson, Jack, is the state golf champ of Michigan, and that's a samurai. And all my sons and daughters are super athletes, and all my friends are super athletes. But I'm going to tell you, the spirit of the hunting families of this country need to be better represented by our government. And so I implore everybody, write down huntthevote.org. Huntthevote.org. And did you say you had a couple more questions? Because before
I have a little series of questions we've been asking everybody that came on, but I think we're probably much rather listen to you play than me ask funny questions. So
all right, I'm gonna go ahead and play the song.
Let's do it.
This is the song. There I was, back in the wild again, and I felt right at home where I belong. I had that feeling come on over me again, just like it happened so many times before, so many times. The spirit of the woods, he's like an old good friend, makes me feel warm and good inside. And I know his name. It's good to see him again. See him, 'cause in the wind he's still alive. Talking about Fred Bear, walk with me down the trails again. You take me back where I belong. Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I will join you on the big hunt before too long. Spirit. It was kind of dark, another misty dusk, and it came from a tangle down below. And I tried to remember everything he taught me so well. I had to decide which way to go. Was I alone or in a hunter's dream? The moment of truth is here and now. I felt his touch, I felt his guiding hand, and the buck was mine forevermore. Because of Fred Bear, I still walk down these trails again. He takes me back where I belong. Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I will join you on the big hunt before too long. Yeah. We're not alone when we're in the great outdoors. We got his spirit, we got his soul, and he will guide my steps, guide my arrows. The restless spirit forever roams, and it roams with Fred Bear when I walk down those trails again. He takes me back where I belong. Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I will join in the wind, he's still alive. In the wind, I can hear Fred Bear. I hear Fred. Hey Fred, let's go hunting, buddy. Hey Fred, you go down that ridge. I'll go up in the swamp. You get that buck. Got the spirit, buddy.
Love it. Thank you, man. Thank you. That was awesome. That was awesome. So,
God bless America. God bless all the hunting, fishing, trapping buddies out there. And if anybody wants to celebrate the greatest joys in life, go hunting, fishing, trapping, shooting. And remember, go to huntthevote.org because we need to save America.
So Ted, once again, man, from everybody on the Bushnell side, we certainly appreciate you spending some time with us today. This was very enjoyable. We're going to have to do this again, and to all the fans that tuned in, we certainly appreciate everybody. Want you guys to continue doing what you're doing. Stay safe, stay strong. Go out there to huntthevote.org there at the bottom of the screen. We'd love to see everybody back next Thursday. We'll be here on Bushnell Live. So, Ted, you guys be good. We will,
yeah, Matt, thank you very much. God bless everybody out there. Remember to stand up for what you believe in and give everybody up there at Bushnell and Bushnell, all my buddies out there, my very best. And everybody be happy and healthy and strong and secure and safe, cocky, defiant, rocking, and hopeful forever. We, the best Americans, will come out even stronger as long as we have this great president leading the way.
All right. That does it, man. You have a good night, Ted, and God bless America. We'll talk to you later, buddy.
Live it up. Godspeed, man. I'm going to jump off this crazy technology. Adios, mofo.